Can you listen to us now, Shreyas? I think Shreyas has lost the audio. We wait for 2 minutes for him to connect. Okay, shall we start? Shreyas, you okay now? Okay, alright. So, yesterday we discussed on replenishment. We understood what is replenishment and we tested plant replenishment where we maintain the minimum and maximum quantity and replenishment quantity, and whenever the stock was below the minimum quantity, we used to run the program and it used to calculate the replenishment quantity and create a warehouse task, and we used to confirm the task. So there are few more types of replenishment techniques. The other techniques are also you know uh, the only difference is in the task creation. Execution wise they are the same, the way we created tasks for plant replenishment and executed it. I mean, the type of task got created with plant replenishment, and the way we executed it, the same way, the execution is same almost for all. But we'll go one by one through other types of replenishment as well. Okay, so and I'll try to compare this with plant replenishment, how different it is. Okay, so order related replenishment. So during order replenishment, if we activate order replenishment and when we go into REPL transaction and we say do order related replenishment, in that case the system calculates the quantity. We have minimum quantity, we have maximum quantity, but the quantity for the task is calculated based on the open deliveries. So let's say you have on the fixed pin we have to supply 20 parts, 20 pallets, or sorry, 20 pieces to the assembly line or to the production area or to the outbound customer. So how many deliveries are open? Based on that, the quantity of replenishment is calculated. So what system will do? System is you create deliveries today for tomorrow. So the system will see that okay, tomorrow there are 10 deliveries, so for 50 pieces. So today it is going to create a replenishment task for 50, so that 50 pieces are available in the picking area for picking tomorrow morning. So the order replenishment works in such a manner that it calculates your replenishment quantity based on your orders, open deliveries that are in the system. Then we have crate part replenishment. Okay. So crate part replenishment is typically used. It's a kind of a production replenishment where you have, this is a kind of a production location, and you replenish stock from your reserve area to your fixed area, okay, based on some pallet size. Okay. So we we have so let me open our layout. I'll try to explain you through that. Now, crate part is a kind of a production replenishment. So let's say your production area is this. Okay, if you're stock in your production area, we maintain like at any point of time in production, the stock should be 10 pallets or 15 pallets or 20 pallets. Okay, so as soon as the stock goes on below 10, the replenishment task gets created. using the REPL which runs in the background, and it creates a task, and that task is used for replenishing the production area. Okay. So for production area, apart from doing the master data setting, okay, um, we create something called as production supply areas. So what we do in production supply area is, production supply area is something which is created by production PP team, and what we do is we map those supply areas from ECC into EWM. So whatever supply areas PP team has created, we will be mapping them from ECC into EWM. Okay. So you can enter your warehouse number, and if there are any supply area assigned to your warehouse, those will be replicated from ECC into EWM. Okay. So the supply areas are created by a PP team. So you won't be able to see supply areas maybe because this plant nobody is working on the PP side. So let us try for some other plant. Let's see. No, there are no supply areas, but when we create this, you get supply areas here. Then next settings we do is we assign as part of master data we assign fixed bins here. So what we do is we say create part replenishment, okay, and then we enter what is the product, which PSA should be supplied, and what is the bin. Okay, so the PSA is the area which is here, production supply area, which is somewhere here. Okay, here, where you keep your parts, and when they are required in production, they are picked from there. It's like a production area. As the name says, it's a production supply area. It's in the production hall, and there you have an area where you go and keep your parts, and from there the production guys they use the parts. So that area is called a production supply area where people reach production orders, and they release that order. So we get a request to supply parts. We get outbound delivery to supply parts to the production areas, and then each of these production supply areas we assign a bin, saying that okay, if this is the production area, this is the bin we are going to supply, because anything in warehouse is purely bin, right? So we supply these parts to this bin. So what we do is, we maintain a bin for your supply area, and then we maintain what is the quantity, the number of containers, what is the replenishment quantity. Then system creates the replenishment task based on this quantity. Okay. So this is an additional setup which we need to do whenever we are working with credit card replenishment. Okay. So it's like a slight interface with PP. Then these were the plant replenishment, where we know that batch job will run, and this is the situation where your replenishment will be triggered. Okay. So there are two other types of replenishment, which is called as direct and automatic. So direct replenishment is something where you go for picking a bin, okay, and you start your bin picking, okay, and you see that system is asking you to pick 20 pieces, but physically you see only 10 pieces or something. Okay, so you see that okay, I'll pick 10, but you see that there could be more material required for your replenishment. So what you do is, on the RF gun you trigger a replenishment. Okay, so you enter an exception code on the RF gun. So the user is working on the gun. Okay. So you have a task here, okay, and you enter exception code. So here we have an exception code. This is for put away, right? For picking, we'll have an exception code, something called as I think to the name we'll get to know that whether it's replenishment or not. The user will enter that exception code on the RF gun and it will create a replenishment task. So let us see what all exception codes are available in the system which will create replenishment task to be picking. So here you can see we have this BFRP. If you enter this exception code, it will say, the bin is empty. Okay, so it is saying bin is denying me the stock. Please trigger replenishment. You will use BPRP. We will say partial bin denied. So in our case, let's say the stock is 10 and you want to pick 20. You say bin is giving me 10 partial stock. Please trigger replenishment for this. Okay, so this way you create a replenishment. If you don't want to do with bin denial, saying that I got less stock, completely no stock or less stock, or you just want to trigger replenishment in the background, just enter REPL as an exception code. It's going to create replenishment tasks in the background. Okay, so this replenishment technique is left to the user who is going to do the picking, and based on his need or whatever he feels like, he will enter an exception code, and that's going to create a replenishment task for us. Then, if we have activated automatic replenishment, okay, so as I said, your task creation is same. The only difference here is, we during the plant replenishment we are running a batch job every few minutes or maybe few hours. Here, in automatic replenishment, it's like it triggers replenishment. Okay, um, automatically, as soon as you pick stock from a bin, and if the stock for the bin goes down below minimum level, okay, it creates a task. So let's say in our case the stock was 5. So as soon as the stock goes down below 5, automatically it creates a task. You don't need a batch job. Okay, but this automatic replenishment only works when you remove the stock from the fixed bin via picking. Okay, so only when you remove stock from 8004 via picking, then only it is going to create a task from here to here. Okay, so if you have removed tasks not from picking, then it will not create. So what we generally do in our companies, in our warehouses, we do it two ways. One way, we schedule a batch job for plant replenishment, which will always check every hourly, whether the stock is there at the minimum level or not. Okay, so somebody might have ad hoc moved anything or something might have taken the stock without picking. So plant replacement will kind of take care of that. Then we also activate automatic replenishment. So whenever somebody removes the stock, it doesn't wait for the batch job to run automatically. It is going to create a replenishment task. So these two kinds are used. We've always taken from picking, automatic replenishment task will done, but somewhere one or two cases if the stock is not removed by picking, the REPL batch job will kind of create tasks for us. Okay. So those are the different kinds of replenishment techniques. Replenishment is an internal process. So we have now seen three internal processes: ad hoc, uh, ad hoc movements, posting changes, replenishment, and now we are going to see the fourth one, which is the rearrangement. Okay. So rearrangement is again a kind of internal movement which is used to optimize your stock. So for understanding rearrangement, let us go back to slotting. Okay. So for slotting, I think this technique is not used by most of the companies because it kind of requires a lot of product movements and a lot of good setup is required. Even if one thing goes wrong, then this entire setup may fail. So, and uh, it's like from the optimization point of view, company generally they focus first on optimizing their picking, put away, and other things. Then only they come to a stage when they use rearrangement for the internal process optimization. So it's a very basic concept. Um, I will explain you based on the stock requirement for outbound. Okay. So let's say, for example, you pick your stock. This is the first instance. Okay. You are going to pick a stock for, let's say, few outbound deliveries. You pick like this. Go here. Then you pick a stock from this aisle. Then you might go to another aisle over here. Then you go to the next lane, next aisle, then next aisle, then come over here, another aisle, here, here. So this kind of picking you do. So this is your pick path. Okay, we call it as a pick path. This is a path through which you're going to pick before you do this optimization. Okay. So now, let's say for example, one possible optimization is you come to know in advance that next week or tomorrow you're going to use these parts. Okay. So these are your parts which are required next week or next day. So what you do is you kind of say what all parts are fast moving, okay, or you give a threshold saying that these are fast moving now. So system changes the section indicator from slow to fast, and creates internal tasks to move the stock from year to year. Okay, move the stock from year to year, move the stock from year to year, move the stock from year to year. So it's like keeping your stock on the path of picking. So anybody who comes for picking now, he'll directly pick from here, here, here. His picking process is reduced. So what the idea here is to check what is your stock, future dated stock, and if the stock is required a lot next week. So what you do is you keep them at a bins which are more easily accessible. Okay, so what we do here is we do whatever the faster moving stocks are there, we store them at a faster moving bins, bins which are easily accessible. Those are the fast bins. So the stocks which are rarely used, we generally push them back so that once a day or once a while you are picking them. But the stocks which are required, you move them so that the picking can be optimized. So there are different techniques. You give your threshold value. You say this is a demand, so it should be faster moving. Okay, so this is one very common reason for using the rearrangement technique. But yeah, again, then you have to interface with APO to work this so that you can get your demands from APO or somebody somewhere else from ECC. Okay, or you manually maintain it, or you get through some way you update it in a table or in a transaction. Okay, so this is the example that we generally see in rearrangement. Rearrangement we don't see much in companies. So what we do basically for rearrangement from the system setup point of view is we create uh, slotting, we created slotting settings, right? So this is one possibility where you say that whenever the demand figure goes down below this, this section indicator. So just to recap, slotting for you. So what we did in slotting during the inbound process, we said that these indicators were updated, right? These indicators we can update to slotting. So what slotting will do is we determine a condition record and we say whenever the stock demand value, you have a demand value here, it goes down for this product, it goes down above, goes above this. So it runs in background, the slotting job. So what it does, it is going to change the section indicator to 0001 to 002. So now it is in slow moving area. So as soon as the demand goes up, we create a condition record for slotting, which is going to change the indicator to 002. Okay. Now rearrangement is very simple. What it does, rearrangement will, this is a bad job for rearrangement. It will, what it is going to do, it's simply going to see this product wherever it is lying in section 002. It's going to create a task 001. It's going to create a task to move it to 002. Okay. So the idea is you are into a storage section which is slow moving 001. Your demand goes, let's say, about 1000, which is now a fast demand as per slotting. So what slotting will do, will change this indicator to 2. Okay. And then as soon as you change the indicator to 2, it becomes a fast moving. Okay, so we create sections based on slow moving, fast moving. So these bins are in the slow moving area, and these bins, the highlighted ones, are in the fast moving storage sections. Okay, so you change the section to 2. As soon as you change the section to 2, rearrangement will check your stock wherever it is here and within the warehouse. It is going to create a rearrangement task and to move it, internal task to move them from year to year, year to year, year to year. So it works in conjunction with slotting, and it creates your internal task to move from one bin to another. We have seen the tasks, how do we execute internal tasks. It's just the um, slotting settings and this batch of rearrangement you need to set up to create the task. Okay. So, that's all for internal warehouse processes. We have already discussed pick, pack, and pass. So, any questions on the internal process before we start, the physical inventory process? Is it clear?
Well,
Okay. Okay. So next is a very interesting topic. Physical inventory process. See, physical inventory process is. I'm not sure if you guys have covered through this process in MM, but I'll kind of define it, you know, uh, right from its need. So physical inventory process, first I'll give you definition, then we'll see how that is done in EWM and how that is done in MMOW. So the physical inventory process is like uh, we have a warehouse and we have a lot of bins, lot of stock in the warehouse, we have a lot of movements going on. So mistakes are, quite possible to occur, right? If somebody does not confirm the task on the gun and he places the stock in another bin, the system stock will be different, physical stock will be different, and this kind of, let's say somewhere the system, didn't work, there was some inconsistency because of which the stocks were, affected. Okay, so over the period of time, all companies, they they realize that the stock has to be corrected. Okay, so your stock has to be verified. What stock is there in the physical bin should be there in the system. So this will also highlight if something wrong is going on in your company. So some wrong process or wrong way of execution or some mishandling or something which is not correct can be highlighted. So this physical inventory process is, we have it in MM also, in WM also. So physical inventory process is simply counting your stock in your warehouse, and this is kind of a requirement in most of the companies, a kind of a legal requirement. So in some companies, some countries, sorry, where they have to count their bins and show in their balance sheet once in a year. So so if you have seen any balance sheet of any company, they have their inventory values. So before publishing their value, they sometimes make sure that the value which you're mentioning is correct. So your stock is your inventory value, right? So it's your investment, right? So you need to take care of it and make sure that your stock is correct. So it's very logical. You need to do that and make sure everything is there in the system is correct. So we have different kinds of physical inventory. If we talk about ECC, the MM physical inventory, what they do is they create a physical inventory document at a store location, go and count the stock of that part in the store location, and you know any difference is adjusted in the system. So let's say physically, I mean, that's the physically the system stock was 100, physically you found 105. It kind of adjusts it kind of will adjust the system stock to 105. Okay, and that difference will go to finance. Okay, because you are increasing or decreasing the stock, so it will have a financial impact. Accounting documents will be created. So finance has to then approve so that they can you know agree on consuming that differences. Okay, so you need a finance uh, representative also when you are posting the difference, so that they can say, okay, this is the amount, and they can get the necessary approval for posting difference. Production managers, warehouse managers have to give a lot of explanation whenever they get a huge differences here. Okay, so there are two kinds in EWM. We have two kinds of physical inventory, two high-level definition, two high-level differentiation. One is bin-specific physical inventory, that stock in the storage bin level, products in the actual in the bin are counted. So, and the stock is based on products in different bins. So in ECC WM, we just had an option of bin specific. You select all your bins and you create physical inventory document. So let's say we have stock in so many different kinds of bins. So which bin we are creating a task against? Which bin we are creating a physical inventory document? So it all depends on your you know um, requirement. Let's say you want to count 10 bins, 20 bins, entire stock in the whole aisle or entire storage type. You create a physical inventory document for those many bins. EWM now, this is the case in EWM. EWM now gives us good options where you can not only count specific bins, you can also enter product and select all the bins of that product, and you count those product in all the different kinds of bins. So you can count the product separately, or you can go and count bins. Ideally, when you count annually, you count all the bins, all the storage type. But if you're counting on daily basis, let's say it is kind of some companies, they do it on a daily basis also. So they do this product specific count. Let's say today I'm going to randomly select any part and count it in my warehouse. So you have a physical inventory person who always randomly once a week or twice a week, he will count any product just to see just a kind of a health check in your company. Or it can also be done to if during picking, packing, anytime or anytime during put away, you see some discrepancy in the system stock and physical stock. So you inform this person to go and count that physical inventory. Either you do create a physical inventory document for him, or you give him a call. Hey, this is a bin. Please do the physical inventory and correct the stock. I see a lot of difference here. Okay, so that kind of product specific bin counting also is done. Okay, then we count all types of stock, unrestricted stock, block stocks, any kind of stock we see in the warehouse. We can count them. It's in the put away F1 or it's been put away F2, Q5, Q6, Q4, Q5, or B5, B6, Q3, Q4, B5, B6. Okay, so okay, so for the configuration perspective, we need to create a physical inventory area. Okay, and we need to assign an activity area to the bins. So what we need to do system wise we will see in the system, but just to tell you about the process, how it is executed. So then we'll go at the system setup and do physical inventory for our bins. So first it creates a physical inventory document which is inactive. You activate it, then you count it, and you post it. That's a simple happy scenario. Sometimes you may have to wait until you activate it. Then once you activate it, you may print a document. Ideally, if you have RF gun, you don't print it, right? Because you count it on the gun. But you have to print it because if in case you are manually going and counting it, okay? So you count and any point between being active, counting, you can delete your document. After counting, if you see a lot of difference, you go for a recount, it creates a new document, and again you go for counting. Okay. So the recount can be automatic also. So we have a config where we say if the difference is more than $10,000, automatically do recounting. If the difference is more than 10 quantities, automatic go and count. Okay. So this posting will correct the stock in EWM. So now the stock is there in ECC and EWM, same stock, right? Whenever we do DR, it gets posted into ECC. ECC is the one which is handling your finances, right? So in ECC, your stock values are kept. So if you are increasing the stock in EWM or reducing the stock in EWM, ECC has to be told, right? So ECC is also maintaining your stock values in MMBE, right? So if you are increasing the stock from 100 to 105, ECC stock should also go up because all material documents, all accounting entries are done there. So you have corrected your warehouse stock, then we have something called a difference analyzer which will post and it will correct the stock in the ECC system. Okay, so it will also make the stock in ECC to 105 and it will post a material document and it will create accounting entries so that the account is corrected, account values are corrected. Okay, so these are the steps. You create a PA document, count, post, recounted. These are the different status in which your PI document is. Then we have different kinds of physical inventory procedures. We will first try to do a basic physical inventory so that we know how physical inventory works, and then we'll kind of come and see the different possibilities of physical inventory in warehouses. So let us count stock in 8001. Yeah, so let us see whether they are assigned to physical inventory. Activity area bins. Let us see the bins. Let's say we want to do physical inventory of stock which is there in 8001. These are so many stocks, so many bins. So you see an activity area, you see activity area. For physical inventory is 8001. Okay, so you have all your settings. Okay, all your settings done at physical inventory area level, and here we can see that this is the inventory INVE activity area assigned to the bin 8001. So what we are going to do is create a new physical inventory area. So I'll come back to the settings that are there in a physical inventory area. Let me delete. Okay. So let me copy one of them and say WH warehouses 80. So this settings we do come here and do all the settings for our warehouse. So we go back here. Okay. So physical inventory area is to be assigned. This physical inventory area controls a lot of things. You know what kind of physical inventory procedures we are doing. So when I go and discuss on this different types of areas, then we'll kind of come and verify into config. Okay, so we create all the settings related to physical inventory area are done. In all the settings related to physical inventory are done at a physical inventory area level, and then you assign a physical inventory area to an activity area. So what we have an activity area in warehouse, the WH80 activity area is 8001, and which physical inventory area we have assigned to WH80. So activity areas should be assigned to physical inventory area. Generally in companies what we do is we assign just one activity area, okay, for the all the bins. All the bins will have one activity area 001 for physical inventory purpose. So the same setting is applied to all the bins, okay, or you can create separate settings based on your storage type that we have done now. So all storage type have their own activity area for physical inventory. That activity area we are assigning to inventory area, physical inventory area. So this is a setting which we need to make sure before we start working in this. Okay. Then the settings we'll come back to that. There are two main settings. So let us now see what is the stock in a particular bin, and we'll try to get this stock back. So there are different documents. I generally use PI underscore process. So why I use this? Because you can create, you can count, you can post in just one transaction itself. So you have three documents: PI underscore create, PI underscore count, PI underscore post. I just use PI underscore process, which has all the three transactions in that. So let us see the stock with the monitor first. Before we see the stock, let us see if there are no tasks open. So here we see so many bins, so many stock. Let's say we found this bin. Instead of 50, it is having 55. Okay. So we come here, say new. So here you can see how you want to count it. You want to count as a bin specific. You want to count as annual physical inventory, cycle counting, ad hoc. So I'm doing a bin specific count. These are different types of counts. Okay, I'm doing a bin specific count. We'll come back to different types of counts. I entered my bin. Okay, I'll set flag and I'll save, so it is going to create a physical inventory document. It's an unplanned physical inventory. I'm just randomly selecting anything and doing it. So here we go and see the physical inventory document. So everything is blank here. Just we can see one warehouse order here. Okay. So this is in an active state. So you can go and count it here, or we can count it on the RF gun. Okay. So see why I have purposefully taken a stock which has handling unit, because mostly you get these kind of stock where you have handling units. Okay. So without handling unit it is much simpler to count, but yeah, handling unit you need to, or whatever we say, XYZ or whatever user we need to enter. Okay. So let's say we give any user who is counting, we give the name over there. Okay. And then this I'm counting on the desktop, right? So later on I'll count it on the gun as well and show you. So we can see here, you can first enter handling unit details. So this is the handling unit in that. So you can also say, bin is empty, so everything will go down. But let us do, handling unit thing first. So you say a storage bin as handling unit, and this handling unit has new item. You say handling unit. This is the handling unit. It has a product. The product is this one. Quantity is 55. Yeah. So if it's saying that 55 is the quantity, what is the stock type? F2. Okay. So we also need to maintain tolerances, yeah, in config, so that we are able to post a difference. So for posting difference, we need to enter tolerance so that we are able to correct stock. So you have some tolerance values created here, high, medium, low. We need to assign that to our user ID. Activity area 8001. What is the tolerance group? We enter, high tolerance. So high. You can create your own tolerance group based on some value. Here you can create, in this transaction, and then assign it to your product. I'm just taking, see, this is the allowed percentage or allowed value. Okay. You can create your own tool and assign some separate value to it based on your company requirement. Okay. So here we post it. and we have entered the count has been counted. So after counting, you can see a document again. It will show you the differences. So this was the account, okay, and here it is saying the difference was 5 Ps, okay, and book inventory was, the book was showing 50. The difference is now showing that you need 5 Ps more in this HU, okay. So difference was an order, warehouse order. We didn't confirm that order. We counted on the desktop. This order can be used to count on the gun. Okay. So you can see our history here that it was counted and created. Okay. Then let me post it. If I want, I'm not happy with the count, I can create a recount, which is going to create a new document, and I have to count it again. If I'm okay, I'll post it. This cannot be posted because tolerances are exceeded. Okay, I mean, before we post, I think it needs to check the value, right? So in EWM, how can it check the value? Because we don't have accounting values. So what we do is we run a program. What this program does is bring all the accounting values from ECC into EWM. That accounting values are used in the tolerances. The tolerance is based on value. So we need to get the product values from the accounting view of ECC. So what we do here is we run this program. Or is it a transaction? It's a transaction. So you can enter a product, and that product T-T100, it's going to bring the, or you can enter warehouse and keep it blank. So see, this is the price. In this price, you have to get it in EWM. This is the price that you have in ECC. So this valuation data is now saved in the database. This valuation data will be used now to compare the price whenever you are posting. So it will check your tolerances accordingly. So I'm thinking that this could be a reason why it's not allowing us. Post the difference. So the tolerance is too much. Let me say, yeah, it's 80. I'm saying no tolerance, no tolerance. Still it is saying. You delete it and count it again. Go again. Come in again. open, file, create, go to edit, go here again, count. It's instead of entering such a high value, what we'll do is we'll enter just a difference of 1. Okay, we say storage bin has a handling unit, and then we say handling unit has a product. We say 51. Okay, stock is F2, and we save it. Then let us post it. Still exceeding tolerance. Let me check a few more details. So we have maintained tolerance correctly here. So assign tolerances as well. Capacity, so was 80. We have maintained high value. Just no tolerance check mark is set. Still it is checking. I think all the plus is not that much, but can be posted with exceeded tolerances. Are we missing something? Just give me a minute. We'll check the physical inventory area. So the WH80 this is the tolerance group for posting. The difference is just 1. It's hardly €5, and what we have said here is don't check any tolerances. Still somehow it's checking the tolerance. setting. Have you mixed anything else? Physical inventory. We don't have any other settings. Activity is there. We counted. We are. Oh god, see the mistake I've done. Instead of user, I've entered as a warehouse here. Still doing that mistake. TRAINER. Didn't check the username also. Now it should be able to post. So now it has posted here, and you can see the stock in this bin now. If we refresh, it's gone up to 51. Okay, so this way your stock is adjusted in the EWM side. I will not still touch on the ECC side. Okay, I think let's do it on the ECC side also. So this one piece has been increased in warehouse. It also has to be updated in ECC. So what we have, we need EWM, for correcting stock in ECC. We have a tool called as difference analyzer. Okay. So whichever way you do your physical inventory counting, you have to come in difference analyzer and post it. Okay. So then that difference analyzer will go and correct the stock in ECC by posting a material document. So whatever difference is in there in your warehouse, see, this is the difference, this is the value. So you have to say is post, so it is going to clear the difference on the ECC side as well and create a material document. So this difference analyzer does not give only differences of PI. There are any other difference like during bin checking or during your put away, you enter any difference, it goes and comes here for you to clear. So as of now, we will just focus on physical inventory. So a document gets posted. Let us log on to ECC and check, whether that document has now been posted here. So you can see 712 is physical inventory stock correction one piece. So 711 and 712 are the two documents, two material movement types which are used for correcting stock in ECC. So it has gone and increased the stock here by 1. Okay. So this way of basic physical inventory works. So what we can do is here in this difference analyzer, what it does is basically it accumulates all your quantity. See what it does basically, if you have counted overall in a warehouse, you have counted 10 pieces. See what happens in warehouse generally, you count stock in one bin less and you found that stock in some other bin, right? So overall level, the stock level should not impact finance because it is within the warehouse that your stock adjustment has been done. So what it does is, you say +5 in one bin and -5 in another bin. You just come here and post it. It will not create any document in ECC because +5 and -5 will nullify it. So what it does basically, difference analyzer, it is something which is with just accumulation, of all your differences before posting to CC. Because unnecessarily you will post 5 plus and then again you post another document for 5 minus. So any differences that you enter at the time of fill PI or warehouse tasks, configuration as a difference that goes and gets corrected here on a cumulative basis using difference analyzer. Okay, then let us do a physical inventory counting on the gun as well. How it can count it. So same counting I can do on a gun. So that's the most commonly used, way of doing the physical inventory. So 6002 reference. This is the document. You can count stock with handling unit, without handling unit, any kind of stock you want within your whole warehouse you can count it. Right. The queues are giving us a lot of trouble. So now it is telling you to go and count this bin. Okay. So it's counting it, telling you to count the HU. You can also say the bin is empty. So my HU is this. Okay, my HU is this. Then you enter the product here. In that HU it is asking you to scan the product. So I'll say it's T-T100. This is the product. And what is the stock type? It's F2. So what is the value, stock value? I say it is 50 and bringing it down to the original value. Supply chain unit is VN 8000. I think it should have come automatically. Owner, what's the owner party control discloses VN 8000. This is the owner. Then what is the value? Here we need to enter the value. It's 50. Yeah, okay. Then I'll save it. I've counted my document now. You come back here. You can see it is counted. I did not do enter my name automatically. Everything was stored. And here in differentiated it is showing that you got one piece less. Okay. So I can correct it here again, unless like I've corrected here previously. Then I go into the warehouse monitor to see the stock. So we can see the stock has gone back again to 50. So again we can post to ECC, saying we have corrected the document. So just correct your stock in ECC as well. See again you got an entry here, say yes. So it could have gone and corrected in ECC as well. So this is a basic physical inventory process which is we have done based on bin. So there are some more physical inventory process which you can do based on product. You can count here. So here I entered a bin and I created a physical inventory document. What you have to do is just simply come here, say that what kind of physical inventory document it is. It's a bin specific, it's a product specific, it's a product specific, you enter HS and then you can enter your product. So whichever bin this product is lying, you can see that bin and you can count it. You can select all, set flag and create one clear document for parts in the entire warehouse, and it will tell you on the RF gun one by one, okay, count this, now count that, now count that, now count that. Then you save it, then your entire count is saved, and then you come in the RF difference analyzer to correct the stock in. Sorry, you come in the PI process, you post a difference in EWM, and then you post a difference in ECC. It's very, if we have worked, I have worked in WM, so I know, this is a very useful transaction compared to WM, it is really, um, handy transaction where we also count handling it very easily. Okay. Then in terms of physical inventory, we have one more, kind of, all the settings you can see in this document. Just wanted to show you one more kind of physical inventory, which is called as a low stock check. So these steps are there. Okay. So this low stock check, how it works, like first is that a physical inventory area. What we do is you set a threshold value saying that if the stock goes down below 3, physical inventory is to be triggered automatically while picking. Okay, so this concept of low stock check is a kind of a physical inventory process where what we have seen just now is a ad hoc process. Okay, we ad hoc when content bin specific, product specific. There is next is a low stock check. So if the stock goes down below, let's say a threshold value, you say whenever the stock goes below 3 or 5 or 6 or 10, any stock which goes below 10 on the RF, you should do a counting. So see what happens is you just maintain a value for a physical inventory area. Then you see your stock in the warehouse, it's 8 pieces. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the picking, and the stock will go down below 8. Okay, so system gives a pop-up. I just wanted to show you a pop-up. It's a kind of a physical inventory process. So I do a picking for 6 pieces. So 8 minus 6 equals to 2. So the stock goes down below 3. Now it will give me a pop-up to count the bin. So you can see I'm entering the warehouse order. I say I want to pick 6. So as soon as you say I want to pick 6, you get a pop-up like this. Enter the remaining quantity. I say, and the remaining quantity, if it is 2, okay, then there is nothing done in the system. But if I say here 3, that means I'm saying physically I can see 1 piece extra. So it goes and corrects the stock in EWM, makes it 3, and you can see the difference in the difference analyzer, and you can correct in the ECC. Okay, it becomes 1069. So this is a kind of physical inventory process which you can carry on the go. You can do it on the go, carry out on the go while picking. You can say, okay, stock goes on below remaining. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces posted. Hey, system says 2, but you are saying 5. Let me correct the inventory in EWM automatically. Then the reference analyzer person will check and correct the posting in ECC as well. Okay, so that was low physical inventory process with the low stock check. We have a physical inventory process with zero stock check. Same thing, but in previous case you are giving a value of 3. Here in zero stock check, the threshold value is 0. As soon as the stock goes on below 0, it creates a physical inventory document automatically. So there are some more physical inventory process like put away physical inventory process. Same like, you get a pop-up during picking, you get a pop-up during put away. So first time you do a put away in your warehouse in your financial year, it gives you a pop-up. Tell me what is the stock after put away in your bin. You say system is saying 10, just as per system should have 10. You say 12. As soon as you say 12, it corrects the stock in EWM. Okay, like it has a low stock check. Storage bin check, we don't call it as a physical inventory process in true sense because it not necessarily checks the quantity. It's a report. It will verify what product is there in which bin. That's it. It does not really work with the quantity. So that's the reason it is not much used in companies. But yeah, we have that option. Just you can randomly check all the products which are there in all the bins. Then next is, I think, difference another we saw. Next is cycle counting. So cycle counting is a way of doing physical inventory where you classify a product as A, B, or C. Okay, so how do you do that? So you can see this is kind of automatic physical inventory process. You don't have to create the physical inventory document automatically. System will create the document automatically based on the frequency that you have set. So what we are saying here is the A class items which are more important. You count them 12 times a year. Okay, sorry, you count it every 3 months. Okay, B, you count it every 6 months. C, you count it every 12 months. So you maintain what kind of indicator your product is. So accordingly, as soon as 3 months are over for your A class product, automatically system based on the badge of cycle counting program I'll show you, system is going to create a PA document. So continuously you count your product throughout the year and it creates your physical inventory document. So people who are responsible, they go and count, and it just reduces the dependency for doing the counting at the end of the year. Okay, so again it's a very useful transaction, useful way of doing PI. So here I'm saying that ABC 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, these are my different time durations. Then you can activate cycle counting. Then in the product master we say the cycle counting indicator is A. This is cycle counting program. So what it does, it checks and tells you, hey, these are the parts which are to be counted. Select all the parts and say create. That's it. This is the same way, execution is the same, but it will only show you the parts which are to be counted today, which are due for counting today. So 8 parts which have not been counted more than 3 months, B parts which have not been counted more than 6 months, C parts which have not been counted more than 12 months, and even they will be shown here, and we just have to run some background job or manually. So it's a PI document for you. Okay. Again, a very useful kind of process. We saw difference analyzer. Now let us go to the config. So we created this config here. So it is activating the put away PI, low stock check PI. Okay. So it is allowed to do a posting after count, and then display the quantity. You can see the quantity. What is the quantity? You can, if you want to say HU complete, so that you don't have to count the product within the HU. If you see the HU, you say, okay, I'm okay with that. I don't want to count the product. Just mark this indicator. Then we saw different types of physical inventory: ad hoc, cycle counting, annual, low stock check. So you activate all the physical inventory type of process for your physical inventory area. Okay, all this process you can see. This is another config which you need to do. So create physical inventory area, do all the settings of the physical inventory area, and assign that physical inventory area to an activity area. Here we have assigned to 8001. Okay, so let us come to the last um, part of physical inventory. So, so these are some of the reports which are used for your stock correction, for your physical inventory. So just try to go through these reports. This is PI upload. So PI download. So you can upload and create PI document using a CSV file. This is a transaction which SAP gives. Then there is a very good transaction. This you will be requiring if you're supporting any warehouse. So this transaction, what it does, ERP stock checks. Any point of time, it will show you if the stock between a ECC and EWM, if there is any difference. So, let's say the system was down or something didn't went well for annual checkup, you make sure that at end of a financial year, the, you know, stock between both the systems are same. So if there is any difference, you can see them here. So for our warehouse, everything looks neat and clean. We set the valuation price from ECC. This is the same thing, I think it just repeated here and here. Valuation price, we set the valuation price 5 euros from ECC to EWM, right? Post difference in ERP, we can use this transaction, but generally we use, difference analyzer, that is the better transaction. So you have this BAPI if in case you want to automate this through some other way. So you can create count post. These are the BAPIs which are used. Okay. So this was all about physical inventory, and possibly this is our last planned topic in week 6. So any questions before we discuss what we are going to take on Monday? Any questions on physical inventory? These different types of physical inventory, where they executed.
From Shreyas here.
Yes, Shreyas.
Just one doubt. Once we post the PI document and physical inventory, then we go for difference analyzer to tell the ECC to post the material document. But
Yeah.
is this a manual process, or it happens? Is there any process to automate this? Once the PI is posted, difference analyzer will be executed automatically.
Okay, I'll tell you how this happens in with business. See, in difference analyzer we saw what was the value, 5 euros, right? So what happens is this counting. There are 3 people who are responsible for physical inventory. There is a count. There are 4 people basically. One person who creates the PI document. So he's a logistic planner. Okay, creates PI document. He goes away. Please count this bin. Your responsibility. There is a person at the ground floor at the warehouse level who's working with products. He will count and enter the count of the system. He does his count. He says, do whatever you want. My job is over. Then there is a warehouse supervisor who will come and see for all this counting what have been differences. So 5 piece difference, 10 piece difference is okay. Wherever he sees 50 piece, 100 piece difference, he will say go and recount, go and recount. So he's going to cross verify the counting. Okay. So once every counting is satisfied, he's satisfied. Okay, I'm okay, right? There are 10 pieces or 20 pieces or 100 pieces difference. I post it. So whereas supervisor will post it from his end. Now the differences will be lying in the difference analyzer. So now there is a value associated with it, right? So before posting difference analyzer, generally the access to difference analyzer is only given to the finance guys. They will come here, they will analyze all the difference, and they will say, okay, no, I cannot post this, you do that, you do that, and they start discussion with your warehouse supervisor. Ultimately, they see how many millions or how many uh, thousands of pounds or euros are there, and they decide, okay, this much we are going to clear, and that goes into their accounting. So let's say the difference is for £1,000. So they go and take the approval from X person before posting in the accounts. If it goes more than 1,000, let's say 10,000 pounds, takes from another person, okay, and so on. The approvals are taken, and then only the finance guys goes and post the difference and liability. Is it clear? Yes.
So it's, yeah, it's, I thought it's a one person job, but yeah,
No, no, no.
multiple
Because
persons are involved in
yeah, because it's impacting your accounting. It's a loss. If you say I didn't found product, it's a loss to the company. So different people and stakeholders are made responsible for that.
it. Right. Fine. Thanks.
So out of this entire process, only the counting is done on RF. Everything is done, and cycle counting can be done automatically for creation of document. Postings are always manual because it has to be manually seen and verified. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. So I think that's all from me today. These were the planned sessions from topics for me in week 6. We'll catch up on Monday. I have, apart from this, there are some special topics which are used in, not much in companies, but yeah, they are part of EWM and they can be, useful to you. So I'll just run you through those additional topics. I generally, like to share with them because, after that course, if in case you come across some such topics, so you are able to take care of it. So I'll be talking about validated service, production interface, cross-talking. May not be able to show you all these things in system, but yeah, definitely I have a screenshot-wise flow, so even you can see the config, the master data, and how to test those processes. PPF action, we have seen PPF so many times. We'll just quickly see the configuration that are required on the PPF. RF cookbook I need not to discuss because we have already seen that, and you guys are now well aware of RF cookbook. PPF I just want to do a recap, because it's very important. So these are the 4 topics. I'll spend maybe 15 minutes on each of them, and I'll share these documents also with you. So it will be useful for you when you go for interviews or you are preparing yourself. Okay. So any questions before we end the session for today? Any other questions?
Hi Ron.
Yeah.
Is any other activity that the functional consultant we have to perform, like we are seen inbound, outbound, and yard management and configurations, and apart from this, like anything which comes from like report generation or anything is.
See, a functional consultant is not, okay. The roles and the responsibility of a functional consultant is not on the topics that are there in a particular, you know, um, in a particular module. Okay. The role of functional consultant depends on the type of projects. If it is a support project, any of these processes, see, the number of processes in companies may vary. Some may have all of this process, some may have one kind of process, may not have another kind of process. So we have just given you a flavor of all kind of process and different variations in all the processes. So you can have, somewhere you can see cycle counting, somewhere, just a recent example, somewhere some companies you will see some other kind of low stock check, somewhere you will see all kind of physical inventory. So companies differ with their processes, differ with their topics. So it can be there in some companies, can not be there. Your roles and responsibility as functional consultant will be, if you are working in support projects, any of these processes are there, anywhere any issue comes, you have to sort it out. You have to make sure your business is working non-stop. Any issues in inbound delivery, outbound delivery, it can be, they will not differentiate based on process or based on consultant. Anything in EWM issues, it will be raised to you. Okay, from master data to your transactional to your um, execution. If you're working on implementation project, you will be given a process saying implement outbound process, implement inbound process, implement internal process, implement physical inventory process. depends on your assignment of work. If you're working on rollout, or you have to just take a standard template and go ahead, you might be knowing how the methodologies are there in rollout and upgrades. Hmm. If your question is are there any more topics in EWM apart from this?
Not the
Yes,
topic.
EWM.
Uh,
Okay.
I am asking exactly like MMSD we are generating, we are creating and developing a report in MMSD for suppose uh, what are the sales cycle, and we are generating a report, we are developing a report. So in EWM also come to scenario we have to ask for that report for developing a report.
Yeah, yeah. See, you remember I have discussed warehouse monitor and told you how to add content in the monitor. That is the only, that's the way of reporting in EWM.
Okay.
And I mean, it's like any other module. I mean, you'll have the reporting also, but the way you will be doing it, it will be slightly different. Like condition records in sales side, the condition records are very common, automatic execution. Here we have, instead of condition record, we have PPF. Okay, so slightly different, but yeah, the roles and responsibilities same applies.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thanks. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, Rohan Shreyas here.
Yes, yes.
Just, I mean, not regarding any concept, but as on Monday we'll be finishing the course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just after the course, we all are thinking for going for certification. So while studies, if we mail you, then you will be replying us, right? If for
Yeah,
that
yeah,
also
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
on the
I will.
same email ID.
Yeah, yeah. My email ID will be valid. Feel free to contact me. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I'll be able to reply you. No issues.
fine, fine. And Arun, uh, is there any possibility that you have any, you know, the question sets with you, question bank with you, with which will be helpful for us for going for certification?
Um, I think whatever questions I had in mind, I've been, pointing them during the session that this is the interview questions or certification questions. I mean, see, my suggestion to you will be, I don't have firstly to answer your question. I don't have any question bank. Even when I gave certification, probably
Mm-hmm.
I missed out. I should have come out and at least noted few questions that I saw during the. But from my experience, I can say that if you're going for certification, just go through the books. There are 3 books I have already shared with you: 100, 110, 120.
Mm-hmm.
Try to cover all the books. If not
Yeah.
all the books, at least complete 100 and 110. Okay, 120 if you go theoretically, that's fine, but 100 and 110 you complete all the exercises. I made sure during our session that we have covered all topics of 100, 110 with exercises. So make sure you practice enough, and
Okay.
make sure before certification at least 3 times you have gone through the books, gone through the books 3 times at least. Okay. So
Three
my
times. Okay.
suggestion is complete one time all the books. Book your certification after completing one time. Then you get 1 month time. Within that 1 month time, 2 times you should be able to revise. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just a tip from my side. It depends on person to person. Just thumb rule which I give whenever I go for certification trainings.
Right. Right. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, sure. No problem. I will be really happy if you guys go for certification. It will definitely help you and give you a lot of um, benefits, and it give you a lot of advantage in your CV as well.
Yeah, we all are thinking because as you said we are technical guys. I mean, unless and until we have a EWM certification, no one will be able to give us the advantage of it. They will say you don't have a background of it, so at least we need to have a certification.
Yeah, and maybe after certification also, whatever project you get, just whether it's a small testing assignment or anything you get, just go in, give a start. Once you get a start, and slowly you'll get good projects, good exposures. But yeah,
Yeah,
start is important.
even if it's a shadow project, that also fine.
Yeah, that should also be okay. Just make a start.
Yeah, fine, Rohan, that's it. Thank you. We'll see you on Monday.
Okay. See you on Monday. Okay.
Thanks, man.
Bye. Bye.